All right, guys, so we're back here on number 5, and it's the same setup, but again, it's just a different version. So here we go. We're going to find two numbers that multiply to get a negative 100. But this time they have to add to get 0. So here's what I know, all right? If they are multiplying to get a negative, that means that one is positive and one is negative. Now, here's the kicker, though, all right? If they have to add to get 0, what that means is that they're actually going to be the same number, but one's going to be positive and one's going to be negative. So this one actually might be one of the easier ones. I have to find two numbers that multiply to get negative 100, but add to get 10. And I think about the numbers that multiply to get negative 100, and I know that 10 and 10 multiply to get 100. So I'm going to make one positive, one negative. And just to double check myself, if I multiply 10 times a negative 10, I would get a negative 100. And if I add 10 times a negative 10, I would get 0, which is exactly what I want. So my two magic numbers are 10 and negative 10. Now, my last one is kind of a combination of everything together, all right, but just maybe a little bit different. So here we go. I'm going to find two numbers that multiply to get 60, a positive 60, but add to get a negative 23. And here's what I have to remember. So to get a positive number, when you multiply them together, you could either have two positive numbers or you could have two negative numbers. And I know that if they're adding to get a negative 23, that means that both of them have to be negative, okay? So one more time, I'm going to start by writing down numbers that, positive numbers that multiply to get 60, and then I'm going to adjust their signs. So I'm going to start with 1 and 60. And because I know that they both have to be negative, I'm going to make them both negative. So negative 1 times negative 60 gives me a positive 60. And then negative 1 plus a negative 60 gives me a negative 61. All right, now I'm going to do a negative 2. So these do not match what my magic number is. Okay, so those are not my magic numbers. So I'm going to now do negative 2 times a negative 30. Now, negative 2 times negative 30 multiply to get 60. But if I add them together, I get a negative 23, which is exactly what I wanted. All right, so those two numbers are my magic numbers. All right, because they multiply to get a positive 60 and they add to get a negative 23. So negative 2 and negative 30 are my magic numbers. So I'm going to pause here, guys. All right, you guys are going to come down and try the U-Try. All right, the next video is I'm going to give you guys the answers to those so that you can check your work, okay?